Okay, good morning. I'm not sure if you could hear this. I think doing videos during walks. It's probably better for my system. But hi. So I'm going to actually share with you something I've been doing for my own personal friendships specifically. When it comes to OP, it seems to work. But I'm not TI, so I could be wrong. I don't care. Basically, the long story short of it is, if you know your OP type, and if you know the OP type of another person, or if you have a good idea of their OP type, what you're gonna want to do, or what I do, is I spar with my friends in the areas where we have masculine temperaments in common, and I protect people where I have masculine functions or masculine temperaments where they're feminine, and vice versa, right? That's the advice. Like, that's really the advice. I'll elaborate. I'll give examples and all that shit. But basically, that's something that I would encourage you to try if you don't want to listen to the rest of the video. Just basically use your friends to go all out in the areas where you're both masculine, and protect your friends in the areas where you know they're feminine and you're masculine, and vice versa, right? So, story time. So I've been hanging out. I'm kind of on a vacation mode right now. So I've been traveling, seeing friends, hanging out with people, voice chats and all that fun stuff. And one thing that I've been experimenting with is, well, okay, if I am really a very intense, crazy person, how intense can I be with people and in what areas? Right? I haven't told these people this, but that's basically what I've been doing. Where can I be intense, and how long can I be intense in that area before it becomes like a serious conversation, right? And so, well, I think a lot of people know that I visited Gray recently. That one was super easy because like we kind of already knew each other, but that one was very interesting because it's like a lot of where we, let's say, a lot of the areas where I could be the intense version of myself that I usually am, was in the area of just me being like a reckless, like stumbling person. It's like I'm a very, like, not necessarily messy. Well, I am messy, but it's like I knock stuff over. I'm very loud. I like punch people, like hit people, stuff like that. And I think even in terms of the conversations themselves, it's like I can be very punchy, like just like sensory wise, right? So it's like I said, I'll be very yelling, I'll be very loud, I'll be very crass, things like that. And it was interesting because she handled it just fine. So good job for her. Points, brownie points, right? But I can't do that with a lot of people. Or let me be more specific. I can't do that with a lot of people who don't also have masculine sensory and are, let's say comfortable enough sharing that side of themselves with me. So that's something that I was noticing. But what I noticed was when the conversation got serious, right? Where we got super in our feelings and shit, is like with emotions. I mean, granted, we're both thinkers and shit, but I noticed that I can't be as harsh as I can normally be, right? Not because it's a matter of can't handle it or not. It's more along the lines of, how do I word it? When I get super intense, if I notice someone isn't in a sparring mode with me emotionally, then I immediately want to protect them, basically. So, and that's something that I noticed during that trip. Now, interestingly, I also have another friend who is also actually the exact same as me temperament-wise, right? So double masculine, SF or whatever. And I'm like the most intense with this person, like, and it's funny because it's like it's an intensity to which I feel like most people would think that I have like stronger feelings or deeper feelings or am more off the rails than I normally am. But with this person who has the exact same temperaments as me in the terms of masculines, I don't feel the need to protect them, and I don't think they feel the need to protect me in a way. It's more along the lines of like, oh, like we're just gonna be all out with each other because there's no one else in the world that we're gonna get this opportunity to be this intense with, right? So, oh, and then finally, there's actually one other person that's coming to my mind. I have to redact a lot of these people, but I think Gray's the only one where it's like I'm on record to say that shit. But anyway, like the last person is actually, so they have masculine feeling, but they have feminine sensory. And so what's interesting about that in that friendship as well is that I'm exponentially more emotionally punchy and intense with them than I probably ever will be with Gray or any masculine thinker, to be honest. But I am not as like crass or loud or yelling with them that I can ever be with Gray, for instance. Now, why am I telling you all these DE channel changing stories other than my type, right? Well, basically to illustrate this point that, well, at least for me, the system's working. Like, I don't know how to word it. This is peacocking, but the system works. I basically have realized that I can only be intense with people to the degree that they have the same masculine temperament as me, right? So if they're masculine sensory and I'm masculine sensory, then we can just go all out, right? And I don't have to hold back. Whereas if they're feminine sensory and I'm masculine sensory, or I guess in the reverse, right? If they're masculine intuition and I'm feminine intuition, we can't bond there in a way that, like, I use the term sparring partners. We can't bond there in the way that sparring partners could or would, right? It's more along the lines of, and actually, let me use this friend again, who has the feminine sensory and the masculine intuition. They are very intense when it comes to their philosophy, when it comes to their worldview, and it's something it's like, I know that they hold back for my sake as well, because they know it's probably like too much for me to even follow as an intuitive. But what I do know, or at least I have faith in, is that whenever they share with me their truths or whatever, they do enough of it so that, like, it's almost like they share enough to where, like, if I ever decide to go down that path, or if I ever am in trouble, let's say in terms of conceptually, like, let's say I'm like lost and I don't know what's going on in my life, I know I can turn to them for that. I don't know how else to word that, but in a way they're just as protective of me as I am of them, in a way, which I like. But anyway, the point is, I'm rambling, but the point is, if you are, like, for my friends, if I have masculine sensory in common with them, we just go all out. And we go all out knowing that we'll be okay, and that it's not like we have like feelings for each other or whatever. It's just a matter of, oh, this is finally someone I can't be so fragile with, right? Like, because most people in the sensory domain, in my opinion, are fragile. So it's like, okay, I could just yell and curse and be reckless. Whereas with the feminine sensors in my life, it's like, I gotta be more gentle. And then I think also, like, with that weird example, with them, with their masculine intuition, I think they're trying to be gentle with me, which I appreciate. And similarly, when it comes to masculine feeling, if we both have masculine feeling in common, it doesn't even matter what quadra. It's like, we can just go all out. I could be like, and it's different than sensory go all out. It's emotionally, I can push past, like, emotional, like, comfort zones that most feminine feelers have, right? Like, I can't move them too much, right? Whereas with masculine feelers, it's like, I can move them to, like, the most intense emotions. Like, it's like, I can move them to despair, I can move them to lust, I can move them to envy, I can move them to murder, right? Like, it's like we can, like, bond over one and murder a person. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice, right? But we do that, and we go all out emotionally, all while knowing we don't actually mean to murder anyone, right? For example, right? We don't literally mean we hate this person's guts, or that we want to, like, fuck this person's brain out or whatever. That's just us like finally like being able to go all out in the emotional domain in a way that feminine feelers just can't handle. I'm sorry, you guys can't handle it. You think you can, but then when we finally go all out, you guys just get really scared and weird and like, oh, I need to be protected. I'm like, this is weird, right? However, what I'm also noticing, to double decide here, is that masculine thinkers have to protect me, because I get kind of bitchy after a little while of an argument session. If an argument gets too intense, I get super anxious, right? And I think that's where they feel like they need to hold back around me, which I think is fair. So anyway, I already made my point in the first like minute or two, right? So you don't need to watch all this. I'll put a timestamp. But this is something that I feel like I should share as I make this weird walk this morning, even though it's really nice outside. Basically, use OP to your advantage. And I think this is one way you could use OP to your advantage. Figure out what the type is of the people around you, and then group your friends or group your loved ones like according to their temperament, like according to what masculine temperaments you guys have in common and what masculine temperaments you don't have in common, and then structure your friendships accordingly or your relationships accordingly, right? So for me, it's like I know who I need to spar with whenever I need to let off some steam emotionally. I know who to spar with whenever I need to like break something, right? And there's just people who I know I will be gentle with me in contrast when it's finally time to, let's say, I need to talk something out thought-wise, or I need to talk an idea out, right? I can't necessarily go to the masculine intuitives for that, for example, unless they're willing to like be gentle with me in that area, right? And so anyway, it's a huge ramble. I'm tired. But these are nice. So I'm gonna keep making videos, as you know, can't stop me. But leave a comment or whatever. I think I'm gonna actually follow up on this, because I think this is important. Because I think this is actually extremely important, regardless of like, even if it's savior or demon. Because I guess this is the last point. Because for me, like, SF is double masculine for me, but it's at the very bottom, right? So in theory, I shouldn't be as concerned about it. But like in some sense, I'm more, my friendships are more based on my masculine functions than anything else, right? So it's like, and I think this is true for everyone. So anyway, if this offended someone, whatever, leave a comment, whatever, just let me know. And hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in the next video that I'm gonna make. Take care.